Welcome back to Reverb by Hard Rock.
Yeah, hopefully. It's even more staticky now. Our engineers are not doing a good job today.
Engineers!
Please, somebody help us, engineers. Hopefully you guys watching on the stream are getting a little bit more clear on the audio, even if it's a little bit lower. This is our first time and we're working through some of the kinks here, and it seems like our mixing board, our trusty board, might be having some issues. Don't do that. Jeez, unless you're going to get us a new one, John. We'll try to make it work through as best as we can. But if you guys are out there watching and coming down to the stadium for the match, definitely come by Reverb and check out the Champions League final, which starts at 3 o'clock. You want to get things started before you hit the tailgates. Champions League final starts at 3. I can see at least 5 or 6 TVs just in front of me. So it's a great spot to watch the game if you're looking to do both. And I know a lot of people will be today.
Yes, and I know that we'll talk about the match itself coming up in just a little bit. I know that I've had a prediction ever since day one of Champions League. You can't change it now, and I've stuck with it the entire time. So I will continue to stick with my prediction the entire time. We'll get into it.
Well, tell us, what's your prediction?
Oh, it's been Manchester City.
Okay, you're really going out on a limb there.
Ever since the absolute beginning, I've said Manchester City.
The absolute beginning? How far back are we talking?
Like the beginning of the tournament.
The beginning of the Champions League.
League.
You didn't pick anybody else?
No, I said Manchester City.
Okay. I'll go back and check the tapes on that just to be sure.
Okay.
But why? Tell me why.
I just thought that they were the most stacked. Is that the superlative, the most stacked bunch? Especially in bringing in Erling Haaland to help out the activity up top. I thought that he was the missing piece.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is they scored more goals last year. So it's not like things weren't good.
Right.
I think that's the thing we got to remember when you get into a Champions League, when you talk about a World Cup, when you talk about a tournament, talk about Open Cup, talk about the FA Cup. A tournament's a tournament. And it's not about the idea of the missing piece, because they have won 5 of the last 6 Premier League titles.
Yeah, they're okay.
They have scored over 100 points in the league so many times I can't keep up. This team scored more goals without Haaland. I think in a tournament format, having somebody like that who is able to be the safety valve, to be the extra piece when a team's putting you under pressure, to be able to play long, it gives you something in the tournament format. So to get specific about being the missing piece, in these kinds of games, he can be. I don't think we've seen a game, honestly, in Champions League where Manchester City had to have Haaland save the day by playing direct and just hoping for him to win a knockdown or winning something with his physicality. They've been thoroughly outplaying teams. I think as they've gotten accustomed to what he gives them and the different set of tools he gives them, they're doing a really good job of dealing with it.
And I think at the same time, I know a lot of folks have been going, John Stones, question marks, but we've seen his evolution as an integral piece to the offense as well. I know a lot of folks are sitting there going, John Stones? Come on, John Stones, no way. But what we've seen from John Stones, what Pep Guardiola's wanted him to do, I think that's also been key to this.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Talk a little bit about John Stones while I try to fix the house sound a little bit better, because now we're using sound over here.
Yeah.
So we're okay on that.
Right.
You can talk to the camera while I get the microphones working a little bit better for the folks hanging out here. So talk about John Stones.
I'll talk about John Stones and the depth and the overall when it comes to Manchester City. And what would be the proper terminology for John Stones? Inverted fullback?
No.
What?
He's a player. He's a soccer player.
Well, I know, but there's like this idea that he's an inverted fullback or an inverted center back. It's like all of these kinds of things that are tied to what John Stones has been able to do, getting forward in the attack. We've seen it with Atlanta United, where the player on the back wants to get engaged in the spaces there. They get engaged in the space that's there, and they become this piece that has to be accounted for offensively. We've seen that with John Stones this year. You see also with Ilkay Gundogan. Gundogan doesn't start every day. Julian Alvarez doesn't start every day. Phil Foden doesn't start every day. You have all of these different pieces, and the bench being as deep as it is. I mean, Riyad Mahrez doesn't start every day. But when they are called upon, they have come in clutch all the way through when asked to contribute for Manchester City. And it's been, for me, it's been interesting to see all of these different pieces when you have an OK Gundogan come in and start. And Gundogan not starting for most of the season in the Premier League and working his way through, and then all of a sudden coming in and starting late. They're moving all of the cement going, but all of the cement blocks going forward, or roadblocks. But what you see is the depth of Manchester City coming through. So for me, it's been interesting to see, okay, who's going to contribute today in addition to the relationship that we've seen with Kevin De Bruyne, who's just absolutely continues to be one of the world-class talents that we've seen, and reinforcing it in what we've seen in the Premier League and what we've seen in the Champions League. So all the different pieces asked to contribute to when they've been able to, when they've been called upon. For me, it's that's why I went with Manchester City from the absolute beginning of this tournament. And you can't change when you're getting out of group stage, you can't change your mind. You have to stick with what you did. That's what I'm doing. You stick with your prediction all the way through. If you screwed up in group stage, you screwed up in group stage. That's the bottom line. You can't just sit there and swat. I know if I had a prediction go wrong, which has happened a lot.
Things do change sometimes, John. Sometimes teams look different after you get out of the group stage. Sometimes form drops. Sometimes injuries happen. So yes, you can change. Let's not play that game.
No, but I mean, me changing a prediction as well. So I can't change.
That's what I just, John, follow me. If Erling Haaland had gotten injured after the group stage, you could have changed your prediction on who would win the Champions League at that point because you're going into the knockouts. The knockouts are completely different. Again, it gets back to the tournament format of what a Champions League is. It's not necessarily the best team that wins. Sometimes it's the hottest team. Sometimes it's the team that gets the best draw. Sometimes it's the team that's in the best form. Sometimes it's just a flat-out upset. And that's the craziness of a tournament. A league, to me, is the ultimate test of who is good and who is not. A tournament, and I know it's called the Champions League, but it's a tournament. A tournament sometimes is about who is the hottest team at the moment, who is the better team in a specific matchup, as opposed to being the better team. I think Manchester City's been the best team in Europe for a long time, but they haven't won in the tournament. Now I think they will, and I don't think it's purely down to Haaland. I think it's a little bit of the odds. I mean, this team is the best team. They're the most talented team. At some point, that wins out. At some point, that wins to get to the promised land. And I think they're going to do that today. I go 3-1 in this.
Yeah, I think Dzeko gets one on a set piece. I think I like your 3-1. I'll go outside of my velvet driving slipper lock that we picked 2-1. I'll go 3-1.
Yeah, I think 3-1. I think City gets it done. And I think maybe some of the people who are saying that Pep Guardiola needs a Champions League title, even though he's got two. He needs a Champions League with City to be for his legacy. He's won 5 of 6 Premier League titles. His legacy's just fine. Maybe those folks will shut up a little bit now. So we've got an MLS weekend to preview. We're going to take a quick break. You guys stay with us. We'll be right back and talk MLS around the league right after this.
Welcome back to Matchday Live from Reverb, presented by Hard Rock. By the way, there's off to our left, camera left, there's a rather large video booth. And I had forgotten from the last time that we were here that someone who has now been recently added to Major League Soccer has a relationship with Hard Rock. Yeah, and he was styling his Hard Rock gear. I'd forgotten that Lionel Messi had a relationship with Hard Rock.
You know, that September game might get really interesting with Messi coming to town. I don't know if he's going to stay here. I don't want to start any rumors because of that relationship. But Lionel Messi has been the talk of not just MLS, but the soccer world as a whole. Not quite. Similar, but not quite. I don't know if he's got the left foot that Messi has. Nobody does. It's ridiculous. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a wild ride. I think we're only scratching the surface of the Messi effect when it comes to MLS. I mean, the amount of tickets that have been sold around the country, the resale prices, where you get into just what's going to happen to that Miami roster, because it's going to look extremely different. But how different? Because there are roster rules. You can't just go sign everybody. No, they didn't try to sign everybody. They just tried to pay a couple people extra money under the table, and they got punished for that. Those punishments, timing works out really good. They're starting to come to an end. So we'll see about anything further there. I don't think there is. So when you look at it, I mean, they're going to add more players. How many? Maybe 3, maybe 4 in terms of names. There's talk about Campana being traded away. There's talk about Pizarro being bought out. That would open up 2 more designated player spots. That's 2 signings you can do what you want with. There's talk about Busquets potentially being a TAM player. And that would make sense. If you can get him to 1.6 in terms of the TAM level, okay. Things get really interesting with that. Is that going to be enough? We'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to see the timing of everything. Haven't seen any further updates on timing, but the strongest reporting about when he would join Miami would be for Leagues Cup against Cruz Azul. The second game in Leagues Cup that Miami will play is against Atlanta United down there. Leagues Cup just picked up if he makes his debut for Miami in that tournament, and it seems like a lot of stakeholders would love for that to be the case.
Get-in price instantaneously for the Cruz Azul match for folks that were projecting went to $253 for the get-in.
Oh, that's nothing now. When was the last time you checked it?
Let's see. When was he announced?
Yeah, exactly. It's Saturday now. Those numbers are insane at this point. I think they'll come down because I think right now they probably went up too high. But, yeah, resale prices on tickets for Messi everywhere, it's insanity. And it's going to be a crazy situation. I mean, when just things like the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals doing a big board welcoming Messi to Miami. He wasn't there. Pogba and Vinicius were there. But when you're getting NBA teams welcoming Messi to town, when you're getting the Instagram followers that enter Miami has now, it's crazy. It's scratching the surface. He's not coming for a little while. You're not going to buy any tickets. I don't think you have that kind of money.
No, I don't.
But we got other games to get into, and there's a lot of games that are happening that he will not be a part of.
No, get-in price?
Oh, jeez.
$409.
Yeah, that's still probably low. It's going to go up more. So let's get into the schedule tonight. We're going to go quick as we look around MLS. A couple games tomorrow as well. Let's start with Toronto and Nashville Eastern Conference game. It's interesting because Nashville's the better team in 2023, but Toronto historically has had a lot more success against Nashville. 2 wins, 2 draws in their last 4. Toronto's the only team to have 4 regular season games against Nashville without a loss. I don't know if they can get this one done. They are hosting, and Toronto's been pretty good at home this year.
Yeah, they have only lost 1 of 9 home this season, 3 wins, 5 draws. The 2-0 loss to New England back in May was the one marker that ended up in hell there. Canadian teams, and this one was another interesting stat. Canadian teams have lost only 3 of 22 home matches to teams that had to cross the border.
I think it's the Timbits. I blame it on the Timbits.
So they just weigh you down, man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're amazing. So maybe people are having too many Timbits.
You go to Zellers, you get your Aero bars. You go to Swiss Chalet, you get bogged down by the buffet on the way in.
They're not going to Swiss Chalet for a buffet before the game. Trust me. The Timbits maybe though in the morning where they sneak out and get the coffee. I don't think Toronto continues that kind of a run. I think Nashville at least gets a draw tonight. I'm going to go with a Nashville win.
I'll go draw. I know that shocks you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I just the chaos in Toronto and Nashville traveling over the border cancel each other out.
Look, now the chaos in Toronto is not quite the chaos that maybe was initially reported. It's not looking quite as chaotic as it did. So let's slow down on old narratives and maybe also make sure that all the narratives are 100% accurate because, look, stories happen, soap operas happen. I think Lorenzo Insigne put some of that to bed immediately after it happened. And we've seen pictures of Insigne and Bernardeschi, maybe by design, being buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as bad as maybe you thought. That team still needs work. I think they're going to give Nashville a game, but I think Nashville's going to get the job done because Nashville's a cup contender this year in my mind. Let's move down south to Orlando and Colorado. Orlando has kind of owned Colorado lately. Colorado's been pretty bad this year. Facundo Torres has made Orlando his team. He's been dominant as of late. It's Orlando, right?
Yeah, it's Orlando. What I'm doing as a part of this is I'm chasing after the juice boxes.
Oh, jeez.
As a part of this.
Yes.
I don't even want to look at the juice boxes in this one because I'm so locked into the idea of it being the purple team instead of Colorado.
It's Orlando. I don't think you have to even waste your time with it. Miami at New England. Miami did beat New England last time out. New England's unbeaten in their first 7 at home, although the last 2 have been draws. 3 of those 7 games have been draws. Miami's lost 5 straight. They did win in the Open Cup on the day the Messi stuff started to come out, so maybe they're feeling the effects of it. Maybe you've got some guys who are playing for the opportunity to stay on the roster. You've also got a New England team that Carlos Heel has been outstanding. We saw him firsthand here at the Benz last time New England was in town. This one is at New England. Miami's definitely going to be feeling momentum in some ways, but if those rumors on Campana especially are true, where's his motivation going to be right now? I don't think Miami can go to New England and get a win. I don't think they'll get a draw either, but I won't completely rule it out. I think New England gets the win at home over Miami. I'm curious to see if we get any kind of a just momentum boost from Messi, from an Open Cup win for Miami. I don't think it's enough, but I wonder how big that boost could be.
Yes, especially if Sergei Kusov just makes sure that he keeps his right arm behind his body for future reference. New England's a -220.
That was a judgment call. I think people got a little worked up there when maybe it wasn't necessarily a bad call.
-225 for New England in the juice boxes. Your draws a +350. Inter Miami is now a +500.
New England gets the win.
I
think New England wins. Don't get too crazy about juice box numbers in that one.
Nope.
Let's look at Montreal and Minnesota. Montreal has won 7 of its last 8 regular season games at home. They've won their last 4 at home. They've kept a clean sheet in their last 4 at home. There's only 4 teams in MLS history that have had 5 straight clean sheet wins at home in a season. Columbus did it when they won MLS Cup in 2020. I don't think Montreal's an MLS Cup contender, but I think you're starting to see what maybe they can be under Hernan Losada, which is a pretty difficult team to break down, especially at Stade Saputo. Now, Minnesota has had a lot of success against Montreal. These teams haven't played a whole lot in history. We're starting to see some of those matchups this weekend. But Minnesota, going into Montreal, playing against this Montreal team under Losada, I think Montreal gets the win at home.
I agree. Stade Saputo traditionally a very tough place to play, regardless. They're a +130. Your
Draw is a plus 235. Minnesota United is a plus 190 in this matchup. I've got to go Montreal.
We do have a little bit of breaking news real quick. Team news in the Champions League final. Pep Guardiola made 2 changes from the FA Cup final win. Ederson back in goal. That's not a surprise. Nathan Ake in for Kyle Walker. Not a huge surprise, but maybe a little bit there. It's Ederson, Akanji, Stones, Diaz, Ake, Rodrigo, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Grealish, and Haaland is your starting lineup for City. Inter has gone with Dzeko up top instead of Romelu Lukaku. Not a massive surprise. Lukaku will partner with Lautaro Martinez up top as Inter is in the 3-5-2. If you want to be optimistic, it's going to play like a 5-3-2 quite a bit.
And like I said, I think that Dzeko could be the one that might be able to unlock Manchester City a little bit, but I still think it's Manchester City's. And now my question going forward, with this run that Ilkay Gundogan has had,
Yep.
can he be convinced to stay?
No, he's gone. I think he might end up at Barcelona. That's the talk, is that they want to go pay him. Yes, they can pay him. Let's stop bad narratives, John. Barca has money. Messi money is a whole different conversation. There's players who are going to be moved from that roster. Messi didn't want to be the reason for guys that maybe some of them he played with over the years getting sold, which they would have had to do to get Messi. You don't have to move quite as many to get somebody like Gundogan. They had money. Levels of money are a different thing. Gundogan's not making Messi level money. So, yes, they can get him. They can get a few other signings. They did win La Liga this year.
They did by March.
You know, they're going to be in Champions League next year. They've got money. We're talking levels. You can cue the song if you want. We're talking levels. And Gundogan is not the level of financial commitment that somebody like Messi would be. I don't think Gundogan's back at City. That could end up being a really big loss for him. But he's got a Champions League final to sign off with another trophy. And I think he's going to be a huge factor in him and De Bruyne. All right, let's run through the rest of MLS really quickly here because we got to get into Atlanta and DC coming up next. Charlotte is hosting Seattle. They've only played one time. Sounders won that last time in Seattle. Charlotte's been really good at home. I'm thinking draw in this because Seattle struggled.
Yeah, and that's where I was leaning also. We had Nico Moreno in he's back on his 10:30 Thursday slot.
Excellent.
With his first cup of coffee. And he is very confident that Seattle, an angry Seattle team, will come from the West Coast to the East Coast and get the Duke. I think it's going to be a draw.
I'm going to go draw on that one. Sporting Kansas City, who has had a really good month of May after a horrendous start, they're hosting Austin, who's been all over the place. I think Kansas City at home gets the win there.
Minus 130. I'll take that minus 130 and just stare at it. I don't think Austin gets a win on the road.
Shallowy scored in each of his last 3 home games. I think Daniel Shallowy is big for this team. I think Alan Polito coming back into the team is big as well. Finally getting guys healthy for Kansas City. I think you're seeing the rewards of it. Houston hosting LAFC. LAFC's got to deal with a lot of the things that Atlanta does tonight, including they played on the weekend last weekend. So they've got even more minutes on some of those legs. I wonder how heavy they rotate on the road. I think it'll be more than they did on Wednesday. Houston has been a really stingy team at home. I could see another scoreless draw for LAFC in this one.
And this is the beginning of a home and home on a quick turn with these two teams. So I think LAFC rotates a lot. Yeah, and I wonder what Houston looks like. I think that Houston tries to go full bore to get full points tonight at home in this one at a plus 200. They're the home dog, by the way, at plus 200. The LAFC's a plus 120.
I mean, it's the respect for LAFC. That one, the draw, is what jumps out to me. LAFC has a lot of games to make up in the league now. They've played 13 games, where most teams have played 17. That's going to catch up to them. How much? Just have to wait and find out. They got a nice cushion before that, and we'll see how much that helps them the rest of the way. Chicago hosting Columbus tonight at Soldier Field. Chicago's unbeaten in 9 straight home games.
Did not know that.
They've only won 2 of them.
Yeah.
So 7 draws in their last 9 at home. It's the longest home unbeaten streak for Chicago since 2016-17. But so many draws in it. Cucho Hernandez is really hot for Columbus, but Columbus is the Jekyll and Hyde team this year. Houston's been that in the past. So good at home, so bad on the road. They did get a road win recently. Can they do it again in Chicago?
Chicago's a plus 145. Your draw's a plus 240. Crew are a plus 170.
No, it's not the number that gets me excited there. I think it's going to be another draw.
Yeah, that's why I was going. I legitimately was thinking draw with all the draws Chicago's been getting.
Real Salt Lake hosting NYC. Real Salt Lake in the news already today. They announced the signing of Cristian Arango, formerly of LAFC, went to Pachuca, didn't really fit. RSL's paying a lot of money to bring him back. They're also shopping more right now. NYC's been bad on the road and bad in general lately. I think it's a home win for RSL.
Rio Tinto for me has been one of the tougher places to play when RSL's had their heads screwed on straight. They're a plus 110. NYCFC's a plus 235. I'm going with them.
First time Cincinnati goes to BC Place to face Vancouver. Luciano Acosta has been brilliant as of late. He's got the opportunity to get to 50 goals in his MLS career. He would be the 9th Argentine player to get to that number if he scores tonight. Cincinnati's been great in the close wins. They've won so many close games, 10 games by 1 goal this year. That's more than any other team has total wins, period. Can they do it again on the road at Vancouver?
That's a long, arduous road trip. I think it's a draw, even though Vancouver's at a minus 105. Your draw and FC Cincinnati are within the margin of error, plus 250, plus 260.
I'm going Whitecaps win. I think Vancouver gets the win at home. I think it opens the door for some of the teams in the East who have watched Cincinnati kind of carve away from everybody here. San Jose hosting Philadelphia. Jim Curtin's never lost to the Earthquakes as Philadelphia head coach. 4 wins, 3 draws. San Jose, 2 games with clean sheets back-to-back. First consecutive shutout since October of 2020. Now that they're not completely insanely drunk all the time, as they've been in previous managers. Luchi Gonzalez doesn't like that. Julian Carranza has been great for Philly. What are you calling here?
I got to go Philly at a plus 150. They're a road favorite. I'll take it.
I'm going San Jose draw. I think they get the draw. They'll be okay with that. Tomorrow, St. Louis hosts the Galaxy. No Chicharito. That's the other big piece of news this week. Torn ACL in the USOC semifinal at RSL. 35 years old. I hope he can come back and end his career on his own terms. Say what you want about Chicharito. He's been an amazing ambassador for the game, for the league, for the Galaxy, for the Mexican national team. I hope he can get back and end his career on his own terms. But it makes a bad season for the Galaxy even worse. No chance they win at St. Louis, right?
No, I've got St. Louis putting up a number on LAG, and the heat gets turned up on Vanny again.
Yeah, I think it has to be. And Portland hosting Dallas is the last game of the weekend. Portland's only lost 1 of their last 12 in the regular season at home against Dallas. 7 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss. The loss was back in 2016. Dallas is the most under-the-radar good team in MLS this season. Jesus Ferreira is the most under-the-radar MVP candidate. I think Dallas goes to Portland and wins.
Plus 245 on the road. And that is a larger number for Dallas to win than the draw number to plus 240. Timbers are a plus 105 at home. I don't have any faith right now in Portland. I really don't. I'll go DC. I'll go with Dallas.
I think Dallas gets the win. I think Ferreira starts to get into that MVP consideration. And if you're looking for good juice box numbers, go find Jesus Ferreira for MLS MVP because he's not being talked about enough. And he has been clutch this year and massive for FC Dallas. All right, we're going to take a quick break and reset. We'll talk Atlanta and DC, some tactics, some things to watch for right after this. Welcome back. We found Scott Flood. He's going to join us now. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on, folks?
Not
Good
much.
show so far. This place is awesome.
We're trying to figure some things out here. We're going to be doing these for the 7:30 Saturday night games. There's only 4 more of these. This is crazy. It's June.
I know. It's only 4 more Saturdays left after this one. It feels like we just got started.
We're midway through the MLS season, but there's only 4 more Saturday night home games. There's some Wednesdays, there's some Sundays. It's a wide variety. Let's see how the scheduling looks for 2024. I think it might look a little bit different in terms of us getting so many Wednesday games and not getting as many Saturday night games. But then I know some people really want some of the Saturday afternoon games, some of the Sunday afternoon games. So I think it's something for the league to start to figure out. So the next 4, and it's the last 4, Saturday night, 7:30 games, we will be here at REVERB at 1 o'clock for a live show. Tailgates start what time for the supporters?
Tailgates usually are going to start at about 2:30, which is why we're wrapping up. We're going to be 1 to 2 o'clock-ish each one of these game days.
Yes.
It's July 15th against Orlando is our next one. August 26th, if I'm correct, against Nashville in town. So
That's a big one. That'll
both
be fun.
of those are big
Yeah.
ones. We move to September 16th, and that is,
that might be kind of big.
there's somebody, Joseph Martinez, right? That's his coming back.
Yeah, maybe Tata Martino's coming back.
Yeah, maybe him too.
Maybe this other guy.
The dude wearing the sweatshirt off camera over there.
Yeah,
He's not here, folks. Don't come running down. I mean, come running down, but don't come running down expecting to see Lionel Messi.
His doppelganger, though, is here. He's over across
Yes.
texting his lovely wife saying, why are you not here?
Was
And then we'll wrap up October 7th against Columbus.
Yes.
For the
So
final Saturday.
all the things here at REVERB, make sure you come down and join us when you can. You're going to get your day started. Today is a perfect day if you're out there watching on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch. You're like, I'm going to the game. I want to watch the Champions League final. Come on down, watch it here.
And what we're helping try to do here is, with Derek Sumter's help, the GM here at REVERB, is make this a hub to begin your game day experience. This year and especially into next year, with everything we have coming in the next 3 years in Atlanta with soccer in the city, between United, between exhibitions with people like Chelsea and Newcastle's coming in, with obviously culminating with the World Cup in 26.
Not culminating, because there could be a Women's World Cup in 27. That is true.
Very good.
That's the thing. It's wild, like just across the board. And Atlanta's not going to be in every single aspect of it, but you've got Messi arriving. You've got everything happen in the summer, the kickoff of Leagues Cup. You've got the Gold Cup. You've got the Women's World Cup. 24, you've got Copa America. 25, you're going to have whatever used to be Confederations Cup, essentially the play-in tournament for the World Cup. Don't know if Atlanta will get those games. It'd be amazing if we do. 26, you've got a World Cup. 27, you might have a Women's World Cup. The Olympics is in the U.S. in 28. I mean, it's just nonstop summer insanity when it comes to this game. So it's going to be a blast, and we're going to have so many different things here at REVERB. So mark it down. Make sure you stop by, whether we're here or not.
This is where your game day
But
starts.
this is a great spot to start your game days. You're coming down.
And maybe finishes, who knows? They're going to be down at our supporter tailgate here right after this, and they're going to be giving away every one of these Saturdays that we're doing the show. We're giving away a night at the hotel on a game night in the future. Now, that does come with one exclusion. That
There
will
is
be
one.
a certain game in September that now will be excluded.
Yeah.
They're unfortunately already sold out, like the rest of the world apparently is.
Messi's selling out like Taylor Swift across the country.
I mean, if he
It's crazy.
has a daughter and takes her down to the jeweler to get earrings, the jeweler's going to be sold out within 20 minutes
Oh, yeah.
of opening. But it's one of those things where I think we're really creating an unbelievable vibe. Because like, did you mention, like, you might have said, like, Leagues Cup every year that's getting going
Leagues
this
Cup,
year,
yeah.
that could be coming into town and doing stuff with us.
Yeah, big game with Cruz Azul, and that's going to be after Atlanta plays Inter Miami and possibly Messi. That game, you'll know exactly walking in the door what Atlanta's got to do to get to the knockout stage of Leagues Cup. You start to get knockout games in that tournament, and the intensity of those matchups with major Liga MX teams, major MLS teams, even an MLS matchup in a knockout game in a new competition with a lot of money on the line, a Champions League spot on the line. Leagues Cup is going to be, I think it's flying under the radar just a little bit. I think it's going to be a huge addition to the calendar when we talk Atlanta United and MLS. I can't wait.
Well, with the rivalry you have between the U.S. and Mexican national teams as it is anyway. I think you're playing off of that anyway, not any big secret. And you're hoping for those big time kinds of matchups. You're hoping for stuff where you're having some of the legendary teams like Club America and Cruz Azules and places like that going up against some of the MLS stalwarts and Seattle's and LAFC's and Atlanta United's. And I think it's something for the future that personally, I think it's going to take a minute to kind of get it up and off the ground, as anything does. But I think in the years to come, it's going to be a highly sought after title for both sides.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great watching.
100%. I think there's going to be some classic games this year in the tournament that's going to really kick it up a notch. Hopefully we have a classic home match tonight for Atlanta United hosting DC United. Short rest for Atlanta after the trip to LA. DC short rest because they scheduled a friendly against Necaxa on Wednesday, which is wacky.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to get into the breakdown of this one. What's your question to kick us off about this game?
Well, let's build off of that. I mean, both teams on short rest coming into the weekend and doing this, specifically around Atlanta. What do we feel we're going to see based on who played on Wednesday in LA against LAFC in a late game? You were there, obviously flying back, getting back time zones. What do you see as far as a starting lineup today from Atlanta United? Do we feel we're going to see our typical starting 11? Or are we going to see subbing in? Get into that a little bit.
I think it's going to have to change a little bit. Yorgos Giacomakis, I wonder if he's going to be able to go and to start. I think he'll be able to play. He trained yesterday. But this is the first cross-country trip that he's done. And everybody responds to these differently. And he's already not 100%. So I think it's really going to be a little bit of feel with him. I mean, you have the sports science numbers. You can look at how much he's worth. You can have a good gauge of where you'd like to be. But also, I think you have to go by feel with him, and he has to kind of feel this out as well. If he can't get you to the 60th minute mark, I honestly like the idea of him coming on in the second half.
Yeah.
I like Miguel Berry being involved early and kind of wearing DC down a little bit and then taking advantage of that with Giacomakis. I don't know if he's going to be able to start. If he can play 60, I'd start him. But if he can only go about 45 and he's not quite feeling normal, I'd rather have him come in the second half. Hosechu is a question for me. He looked like he was really feeling the effects of everything in that game in LA. Struggled a little bit. I think it was a physical game. He had a lot more defending to do than he's used to. That's going to take a lot out of him. Can he turn Sadic? Can he get you, again, same thing. Can he play 60? If he can, maybe he starts. If he can only go 45, maybe they split the difference. Johnny Fortune's going to push for time as well. I wouldn't be shocked if a Johnny gets a start. I think he's somebody who Gonzalo Pineda really likes. I think he brings a ton of energy. The young legs handle that travel a little bit easier. Almada will be good to go. Araujo's another question. Again, he's worked really hard these last two games. He's leaving here soon. If he can get you through this one, maybe the last two games that he's here against NYC and Red Bulls, he comes off the bench. And this might be the one where you're kind of asking him, can you do a job for us here, Luis? Can you get us into the second half? I know you're feeling the effects of it. You're leaving already, but he's worked. And you can say what you want about Araujo. You can say what you want about not producing enough goals and assists, and I'll agree with you. He has been a very hard worker for the club, and especially after the transfer's been announced. Yeah. Brenner left. Brenner's sitting on a beach in Brazil. Brenner's resting up from some knock. Like Luis is running himself into the ground for a club that he's leaving.
Which I'm sure
Well, no, I mean, I'd rather have him playing two because he's going to have a little bit of time to rest up. But it's not about Flamingo because he's still an Atlanta player. To me, it's about his character. And again, I wish he had scored more goals and had more assists too. But man, if he puts in a shift tonight, I hope he gets a reception that he deserves. I worry that he won't. I hope that he does. He deserves it. He does. He deserves it, and I hope he gets it. I'm sorry. I think we have to be. We have to respect the work that these guys put in.
Well, so question to kind of follow up on Giacomakis.
Yeah.
Let's say he is not going to start.
Right.
Now I know, and so just asking for the general fan out there that's listening, we we saw a move where United brought Conway back into the fold.
He's with the twos. Yeah.
So he's going to be strictly with the twos.
He played last night. He's with the twos. I mean, he's going to have a chance to impress, but Yorgos will be starting sooner rather than later. He is going to play for Greece in, is it 16th, 19th? Yeah, I know that, but is it Euro qualifiers? They have so many competitions in UEFA, I can't keep track of them anymore.
Yes,
So Euro qualifiers, he's got 2 games. He'll factor into those.
And Caleb is not back yet.
Caleb's back. He played
He
on
is
Wednesday.
back.
Yeah. He might
Oh,
start.
my fault.
Yeah, he might start tonight. That would be the other addition to the starting lineup. Is Caleb might start. Tyler Wolf will push to start. I thought Wolf came on and did well again in LA. It's time for him to get a start, I think. Derek Etienne hasn't done enough in the attack, and I think he might need to shake that up with either Caleb or Tyler in that starting lineup. And if Luis can't go, then maybe both. It wouldn't shock me if they both get an opportunity here. I think it could look like a very different starting lineup. Against DC, they're going to play very direct. They are a team who doesn't really try to build up a lot. They're going to look to play long when they can. It's not just launching it straight out of the back on a regular basis. It's not old school like 1985 English soccer. But Wayne Rooney is English, and Christian Benteke's played in England. So they're going to be direct. That's what suits them. But it's a lot of times after breaking the first line of pressure from the midfield that's launching it to Benteke. You've got to be ready to deal with that fight. And physically, I think in the midfield especially, you've got to match their fight. And it could be a situation where you're looking at trying to stop Mateusz Klich, former Leeds player. He's been their talisman. He's been their most effective player. He's been the guy who's hitting those long passes and connecting. He's also been the guy who's creating chances for them. You've got to deal with him, whether it's Ibarra, Sadic, Hosechu, Fortune, maybe both of them, maybe trading off at times. You're going to have to deal with Cliff, I think, to stifle DC. I like Atlanta's chances attacking DC. I worry about their directness causing problems at times because LAFC played a completely different game. New England, not really direct. You know, you look back at games, and Colorado was probably the most direct, but then they stayed so deep. DC does this combination that's interesting. They're direct, but they play a very high line. Tyler Miller will be 40, 50 yards out of his goal a lot tonight. Now, he hasn't been chipped yet. Thiago Almada will be looking for that chip. And Yorgos and Barry and all of them. But you know Thiago will be looking for it. I think that's an opportunity for Atlanta. And the pace. You've got to get that timing. That's why I like Wiley potentially starting tonight.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is if you can time it like Atlanta has with him making the run in behind, the combination in the midfield, and Thiago unleashing Caleb or Tyler or Yorgos or Miguel Berry, but especially Caleb. If DC's going to play that crazy high line, Miller's going to be sweeper keeper. There's going to be space to hit that ball into, and I think Atlanta can take advantage.
Boys, as we get wrapped up here, let's do that. We're gonna play the whole. We'll put you in the Kirk Herbstreit role of things with College Game Day. You're calling the game tonight, so you can't make the call. But John,
Well, wait a minute.
So you're calling, but you're not like directly like
He's not on the call.
He
He's not
has an
broadcasting.
ability to he could cheat.
I can cheat.
And we
What
know
can I do from the radio?
We know Jason.
I cannot.
You can't trust former DJs.
You can't trust the deep what?
Man.
What?
I said former.
You know, once it's like a Marine. Once a DJ, always a DJ.
I can start DJing again. You don't know.
It's like being a Marine. You never call a Marine an ex-Marine. It's like DJs are always DJs.
Well, since I've offended your delicate sensibilities, give us a final.
I'm not going to give you a final score prediction. I will give you a couple of predictions of things I think will happen. I don't think the game finishes scoreless.
Yeah.
I don't think either team walks out with a clean sheet. I think Atlanta will have more opportunities. I think DC will sit back a little bit more than they typically do. So I think Atlanta will force them back. I think Tyler Miller is going to make a mistake playing sweeper keeper. I think this is the day that it happens. Whether it's a chip, whether it's just he gets caught and Atlanta scores a goal that looks funny because their keeper's 50 yards from goal. I think that's one way Atlanta's going to score. I really look at Caleb Wiley as the key tonight. I think Caleb Wiley, a big night for him, and it's a big night for Atlanta United. They got to get him going. And I think that Brad Gazan will not have to make 8 saves tonight. That's the other big prediction. Hopefully he does not, because good grief. I mean,
I think he just made another one.
he might have. There was back and forth between 8 or 9, because MLS said 9 initially. Opta said 8. I think we've settled at 8.
8 and 8.5.
Brad was outstanding after a lot of noise after a game where he wasn't outstanding against New England. He was really good in Orlando. I think people have tried to spin things in a different way. He was good in Orlando and made a save that earned you a point there. He's played 3 games since coming back. Let the guy cook a little bit here before pronouncements are made. His leadership is going to be key in this one, dealing with that direct play. I think Brad Gazan will impact the game in a big way without making 8 saves tonight.
Johnny, what do you got? Give us a score.
Well, wait a second. But if I'm on the Halo board with my 30-foot head and doing halftime highlights, I have to give a score since he can't.
Look, I'm just subbing in.
Predict
Why are you
something.
giving me
Well,
Fine. Predict something.
Fine. 3-1.
3-1.
3-1
Okay.
Atlanta.
All right.
Any particular somebody scoring, not scoring?
Well, I like the chip idea. Tyler Miller getting wanderlust and getting taken advantage of. And I think you're going to get a set piece. And so let's go Wiley, a chip, and a set piece. And I think that the Belgian bread loaf, Christian Benteke gets
The Belgian bread loaf?
Yes.
Who calls him that?
When he was wrapping up his career in the Premier League because of how slow he was at the time and had a bit of a boiler, it was Robbie Barul called him the Belgian bread loaf.
It's kind of harsh.
Sounds like
Well, so was his play at the end of his time in the Premier
we
League.
need to
been
get
pretty
our
good
friends
here.
Eric and Nick over while having them make a beer called Belgian.
That'd probably be a pretty good beer, actually.
You know what? I'm feeling a 1-0 win, and I feel the goal comes in the second half. And I really have a feeling that if we do get our Rougeau on the field today playing significant minutes, for some reason I just feel
That would be cool.
it would be the ebb and flow of the way that this season, this team, and the fan base goes, that he would have a great game, come out, score the goal, and the fans will be loved just in time for him to be leading in, 2-3 weeks. It just feels like one of those kinds of games. I could also possibly mention set piece. It feels like an Almada set piece kind of goal game.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I'm feeling kind of like a 1-0. 1-0 game is what it's feeling like.
I'd love to see Luis have a good moment on his way out. One more, didn't get it. I think he'll do fine at Flamengo, but I hope he gets a good moment to kind of remember his time in Atlanta by, because he's had some good ones. I hope he gets one more good one. We will see. So broadcast plan, 7 o'clock, Five Stripes Countdown on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. 7:39 is the kickoff. That's standard Apple kickoff time now, 9 minutes after the announced time. Only Fox games are weird kickoff times at this point.
So pregame shows at 25 minutes after.
Yeah, 7:39 for kick. You can listen to Mike Conti and myself on the Apple TV MLS Season Pass. Just go to Home Team Radio option. And if you want to listen to us on the road, make sure you yell at Apple and tell them that's what you want, because we can give them that if they.
I found a bit of a cheat.
You found a cheat?
Yeah. Go to the Odyssey app.
Yes.
And Odyssey is about 30 seconds off of Apple.
Yeah.
So you freeze Apple.
Yeah.
Everything catches up, and then you can sync it that way.
I have heard that Apple will jump you forward at times.
Yeah.
And that's something you'll have to resync. But hopefully, and we've heard as soon as next year, we'd even heard some rumors maybe this summer, away audio would be included in Season Pass. They do it for MLB. Next year, we've been told that's the plan. So fingers crossed. But full-time report for tonight as well on your way out. When you're heading home, you can listen on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, or you can download it and listen later. Soccer Down Here back on Monday. Lots of content coming out over the weekend as well. So make sure you subscribe to Soccer Down Here where you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to Off the Woodwork from 92.9 wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you subscribe on Twitch, on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. If you're watching on one of those and not the others, subscribe everywhere. You'll get all of our stuff. We'll be back here when?
We're back here at REVERB on July 15th ahead of the Orlando game.
Oh, bring your Disney gear for that one, and we'll be here for that. So thanks for hanging out with us. We will see y'all at the Benz tonight, and we'll see you for more content coming out soon. Thanks. Muchas gracias.